Tim Kaine of Virginia is with us now. Senator, thank you for being with us. It's certainly hard at this point to see how the subsidy extension would ultimately become law. A source telling CNN that on today's House Republican conference call, Speaker Johnson would not commit to holding a vote on the subsidies. What did Democrats ultimately get that they wouldn't have gotten without a government shutdown?
We got full year funding for the SNAP program that the Republicans gutted in the reconciliation bill last summer and that President Trump has been withholding from the 45 million Americans, our poorest and most vulnerable people who rely on SNAP, 1 in 8 Americans. We got a guarantee of a vote, high stakes, main stage with the spotlight on it. In the Senate on extending the ACA tax credits. You showed the statistics about how damaging these have been to Americans, and the fact that they're in red states means we have a strong belief that we're going to be able to get the Senate to vote for this extension in a bipartisan way. And then you're right, Speaker Johnson hasn't committed to bringing it up, but he's got Republicans who are telling him you need to fix this. All Democrats need to fix it. If he were not to bring up a bill that passed the Senate with bipartisan support, their midterm election next year would look a lot worse even than the shellacking they got last week in Virginia and elsewhere. And then the final thing we got in this, I got into the negotiations late and ensured that all furloughed and recently RIFed federal employees are returned to work with back pay, and very importantly, got a guarantee of no RIFs, massive layoffs going forward, so that the federal employees have been waking up every morning not knowing if they would get a RIF notice in the mail or something from the Doge brothers telling them they're now locked out of their office. They don't have to live under that anxiety. They can focus on doing their job instead of worrying about their job. And that's 2 million federal workers.
Yeah, and that's a big deal in your state, in Virginia, which has so many federal workers in it. Your fellow Virginian, Senator Mark Warner, did not vote as you did for this, though. While he appreciated those protections for federal workers, he said, quote, "We owe the American people more than a short-term fix that leaves working families staring down a health care crisis, and simply kicking the can down the road is not good enough." But you decided this was good enough. So can you talk to us a little bit about that discrepancy between two senators who are normally pretty aligned on things?
We vote together quite often. So I was the one negotiating the federal worker protections, and when I got a yes from the White House at 4:45 yesterday on the key component of guaranteeing no future RIFs, that was very persuasive to me. But I think the issue that a lot of Democrats were grappling with is on the health care side. What's going to get us to a deal? The Republicans said when this started, we will not negotiate about health care as long as the government is shut down. Now, I was with the Democrats until this last vote, but the Republicans kept true to their principle. We want to negotiate. We think we have to fix this, but we will not negotiate with the government shutdown. So would that have changed in a week? Would that have changed in a month? After 40 days, I did not believe it was going to change. But what I knew would happen in a week or a month is more families would lose SNAP benefits, more chaos in the air traffic control system, more federal workers missing paychecks, more American citizens calling the IRS to get a tax question answered, but not having a phone answered. So I did not see waiting as improving the likelihood that we would get the fix. Now we have a path to a vote. No guarantee, there are no guarantees up here, but the whole American public will see that debate in live time, who's for them on health care, who's against them, and there won't be the background noise of shutdown, of air traffic control, of SNAP, drowning out the very real and important debate on health care that we're going to have within the next month.
Huge active duty military population in your state. The Trump administration did make sure that they received their paychecks. A lot of times, though, it was, or all the times, it was this kind of last minute respite they got, and their collective anxiety from that uncertainty and also the financial impact of other knock-on effects of the shutdown that were quite costly to them was very real. What is your message to those families about why this was worth it, a shutdown this long?
Well, I don't think shutdowns are ever a good idea. So I'm never going to say a shutdown is a good idea. Donald Trump told the Republicans to come up with a bill and not deal with Democrats. we put an alternative on the table 12 days before the shutdown, and we asked President Trump to engage, and he refused to. You know, when he finally engaged, this is what it takes to avoid a shutdown or get out of one. He finally engaged Wednesday morning after he got shellacked in elections last week. He called the Senate Republicans to the White House and he said, hey guys, we lost badly last night. They're blaming the shutdown on us. It was like Rip Van Winkle suddenly woke up. At that moment, the president engaged. And what I predicted is when the president engages, we will solve this in a matter of days. That's what we did. If he'd engaged in September, there wouldn't have been a shutdown to begin with.
So this is setting up a new funding deadline for January 30th. That's really not that far ahead of us here. How should the Democratic Party approach that new deadline?
Well, we need to take advantage of the first thing we did is the funding deadline is for this sort of full year funding bill, and we just got a big chunk of it done in the short-term CR. We put full year funding in for 3 of the big functional areas of government: the legislative branch, the VA and military construction, and the ag program, which includes SNAP and WIC and other safety. So we've got that done. So the remaining bills are important, but we've got some of the work done already. And so what we need to do is have the appropriators continue to do what they did on those first 3 bills and get us there. In that meantime, we will have the debate and we'll have the vote in the Senate on health care. And we'll do it in sufficient time that if we pass it in a bipartisan way, it can go to the House as well. And you're right, the Speaker doesn't have to bring it up, but he's got more than a majority over there who say we have to fix this, and a majority of House members can use a discharge petition to free up a vote on the floor on anything they want. So our goal is, in the time when we're working on the remaining appropriations bills, we'll queue up the health care vote. We'll try to put together a proposal that helps Americans afford health care, that is as attractive to get Republican crossover support as we can, and we'll put everybody on the record on that.
Congressman Ro Khanna says that Senator Schumer is no longer effective and should be replaced. A couple weeks ago, I was talking with Congressman Seth Moulton on the program. He's now running for Senate. And he said that we are in this shutdown, quote, because of how ineffective Schumer was during the first funding battle. What do you think? Do Senate Democrats need to have? Are they having a serious discussion about whether your caucus might be better led at this moment by someone else?
No, Chuck's our leader. We elected him a leader. He's going to stay our leader. You know, I know House members have a lot of free time to speculate on stuff because they haven't been up here for 7 weeks while we've been here every week trying to get the job done. So I don't freelance opinions about House leadership. If House guys want to freelance opinions about Senate leadership, feel free.
All right, Senator Tim Kaine, thank you so much for being with us today. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.